In my previous videos, I showed how to change this full color image into either a single stencil with a bitmap or a halftone, or multiple stencils using index color. You can find those videos on my channel. In this video, I want to show you how we could create all the colors we see in this image with a limited set of stencils. We're going to use a process called four-color separation. Every full color image that you see, if it doesn't have spot colors, has been physically printed with just 4 plates. A cyan, a magenta, a yellow, and a black ink, if they are transparent, can create most of these colors. We can recreate this image with 2 different visual looks. One can look a little bit like a rough inkjet print. Another will look more like a commercially printed image with a halftone dot. So I think about it as marks. One is a bitmap, the other would be a halftone. Here we see an example of a pixel-based image that has been recreated with either pixels on the left or halftone dots on the right. These are really our 2 kind of aesthetic choices for reproducing a full color image. First, I'll show you how to make this into a bitmap image. We need to, again, make sure our image size and resolution is correct. Okay, for a bitmap image, we need this to be 100 pixels per inch. Now, we'll go into image mode, and we need to make this a CMYK color space for cyan, magenta, yellow, and key, or our black ink. That's going to change our colors a little bit if it was something that was only on a screen. We can, again, create colors on a screen that are impossible to reproduce with pigment. So you may see either a subtle or a dramatic change in some of the colors. Now we want to go over to the channels panel, and you can see it is made up of a cyan, magenta, yellow, and black channel that makes up our composite CMYK. So I can turn on each channel by itself, as well as turn on each successive channel to see what happens as those colors add to and alter the image. These effectively are going to be our stencils. In the channels panel, what I want to do is select all of this cyan. Then I want to copy it, make a new file, and then paste that cyan channel in this new file. Our image size remains the same. The physical size is the same, and it is 100 pixels per inch. If it isn't, you could change it to 100 pixels per inch here, but you just have to do that 4 times, right, for each of your 4 files. So if you do it right away, it makes it easier. Now I simply want to make it a bitmap image. I'll go to image mode, bitmap, and say OK. We want this to be diffusion dither, and again at 100 pixels per inch. There's our cyan. I'll do that 3 more times. Come back to channels, and now I want to have just the magenta one selected. It's already selected. Now I just have to copy it. So I go to edit, copy. I want to make a new file, file new, and then I want to paste it. Edit, paste. Then we want to make it a bitmap. So I go to bitmap, again, should be 100 pixels per inch output, diffusion dither. There we are. I would do that for all 4 of my channels. And then I'd print each one of those out. Now, I'm going to do a little simulation. I'm going to take this bitmap image and show you what it might look like as just a rough simulation when we print it with our cyan, magenta, yellow, and black transparent inks. Okay, so I'm going to take the magic wand make sure it's ready to go. I've got my add to selection, point sample, tolerance at 1, and all of these boxes unchecked. I want to make this into a color thing. So I'm going to go up the chain from a bitmap image to grayscale and from grayscale to RGB. Okay. Now here we see our RGB channels, and this one is our layer. I'm going to double click background, and I'm going to name that cyan. Okay. Next, I'm going to use my magic wand. I'm going to select the black, and then I want to go to Edit, Fill, and I want to choose Color. And what I want is 100% cyan with 0% listed for magenta, yellow, and black. Okay, now I'm just doing this as a simulation. Once you've made your stencils in black, you're just printing those out, and then you're printing them in ink. I'm showing you what would it look like when it is printed in ink. So we'll say OK, and OK, fill that. We'll deselect. So there's what that black stencil would look like when we print it in our cyan ink. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with this. I'm going to go to Image Mode, Grayscale. We'll say OK. We'll go Image Mode, RGB. Okay, I want to select the black. I want to go to Edit, Fill. And if I just say OK with color here, it's actually going to fill it with cyan. So I need to trick Photoshop. I need to say, OK, give it a background color. No, I changed my mind. Give it a color. And now I can input 100% magenta and 0% cyan. Say OK and fill that. So there we are. Now I'm going to select all of this. I'm going to select all. Okay. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go over to my cyan, and I'm going to paste it. So there they are in 2 layers. Now we can't see them overlapping one another, but we can get a rough idea of what the mix will look like. If I shift the blending mode on my magenta to multiply, you can see it starts to make violets. If we zoom in on this. Now this isn't going to be exactly what it will look like when you print it with ink, but it's a rough idea, right? You can see when we looked at those individual stencils, we get all these dots, right? But as we layer these stencils on top of one another, the dots start to kind of disappear. So let's make the other stencils. I'm going to go to yellow. Select all of this, copy it, we'll make a new file, we'll paste that, and now we want to bitmap it to 100 pixels per inch, yeah, and then we want to fill it with our color, so we go back to grayscale, and we go back to RGB, want to select it, want to edit, fill it with my 100% yellow. And 0 magenta, cyan, and black. Say OK, OK. Deselect it. Select all of it instead of just the yellow bits. Copy it. Come back over here. Paste it. And under layers again, we'll change it to multiply. Right? So you can see the buildup of the image, printed cyan, magenta, yellow. Now when I print, I also print in this order. You can print in any order, really. Some people like to print yellow first. I don't like to print yellow first because it's so hard to see to register my next color to. So I actually will print cyan first, then magenta, then yellow, and then lastly black. So let's get our black here. Go to black, select all of it, copy it, make a new file, paste it, bitmap it, Then we move it to grayscale, move it back to color, although that's not that important because we have black. Select all of it, copy it, bring it over here, paste it, go into layers, and again, change this to multiply. And this is kind of what it will look like when we print it with screen print ink in these process colors. Right? So you can kind of see the buildup. There's the cyan first, the magenta, there's the yellow, there's the black. There's just yellow and black. There's just black and magenta. This makes essentially a duotone image. A duotone is 2 tones. Doing that with making bitmap images can be kind of complex. You can do it with index color, but there are other ways to do it too that are maybe give you a little more control. But a duotone is kind of between a single stencil and a multiple stencils, right? And you can have tritones or quad tones, etc. Essentially, this is a quad tone image. It's 4 tones, 4 inks. Instead of a bitmap, what if I want to make this into a halftone?